Awesome. All right, welcome to the Crestcore Real Estate Hour. I'm your host, Dean Harris. Douglas Skipworth, how are you?
Great.
Good. Appreciate you guys joining us today. We are going to talk about buying an off-market property today.
Nice.
It's one of our bigger topics. 50% of the houses I sell are off-market, so we're going to dive into there. If you have any questions, email me, dean@crestcore.com. I want to let you guys know, I'm going to start letting you know this every episode. I help clients buy and sell real estate. If you have anything you want to sell, we list. If you have anything you want to buy, I also buy or represent. So please email me. I'm happy to help you in any way I can. These podcasts are meant really for informational purposes. We don't really go into tooting our own horn and talking about our company as much. But if you have any questions about buying and selling, email dean@crestcore.com. Also, you can catch the podcast on Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, everywhere Apple Music or Apple Podcasts, wherever you catch your podcast, it'll be posted on there. So let's dive into buying an off-market property. Half of my deals are off-market that I send out and source for clients.
Yeah, I believe it.
Half of them are MLS deals.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it would be a good idea to talk through today about buying that off-market property. It's such a different experience from buying an MLS property than I thought we should dive into it. All right. What is first question is just kind of the basics. What's an off-market property? What is that?
What you just said, you're like, half of my deals are off-market and then half are, which you said MLS.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So my simple answer, I think, to your question is non-MLS.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the easy answer, right? That's the flip side of the coin.
I guess you could list a property with an agent and have them not put it on the MLS and it would be considered on market, but that's so rare in our, we don't have that. So yes.
But we're talking about off market being something that's not really part of the MLS.
That's right. Or even being offered by a licensed real estate agent on the behalf of someone else.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So, I've been sent properties before that they said, hey, it's a pocket listing. I'm keeping this one. I'm not going to put it on the MLS. So that's on market, but I rarely see that. So yes, you could pretty much say in Memphis, it's either going to be on the MLS or it's not.
Or it's what everybody would call off market.
Off market. Oftentimes that means they're wanting to sell it quickly. There could be a ton of damage and they don't want to introduce it to the market. They might not just want to fool with a real estate agent or that process, although they're not really that different. That might be the case, and that's where they can come. They come from different sources too. So
yeah, that's
one of our questions is, how do we source these? Where do they come from? What are some of the basics that you would say? Where do the
that's what I was going to say. Is for when I think of MLS, it's pretty straightforward, right? I believe Memphis has a public facing MLS, or at least the agents do. You can go to CrestcoreRealty.com and search the whole entire Memphis Area Association of Realtors, the MAR MLS.
Yes.
And you could go to other agent websites and do similar things.
Yeah.
But why would you do that? So, so MLS, you can search. So that's the public. So this, to me, the off market are, they're not searchable like that. They're not in this curated database with listed with the listing price and days on market and all the stuff and showing up on realtor.com and
Zillow and Trulia and
all the places that they push it to. Now you can go to so anything that's non-MLS is off market, and the source of those could be close to infinite, right? It's like whoever is the seller or custodian or liaison to the seller, or the property owner. So that could be the property owner themselves.
That's right.
They could put it on Zillow as a make me move. I don't know if they still call it make me move. That's what they did years ago. It was like, if you want to buy my house for $1 million, make me move, kind of thing. Anyway, you could list it on Zillow. You can put what we used to call FSBO. You can put a FSBO, a for sale by owner sign in the yard. You can put it on Craigslist. You can put an ad in the paper. You can not advertise it and wait for somebody to call you and say, oh, if you gave me this, I'd move.
Yeah.
Lenders are sources because they are pre-foreclosure, or they know that they've got a client who's looking to sell. You've got tax authorities, both federal government some, but really when you think about that, it's more the property taxes, local at the county level or the city level.
Yep.
Then you've got probate with heirs that come into play with like
dealing with one now
where it's like, how do you get through? I mean, I'm dealing with one, maybe it's the same one we're both dealing with, that it keeps getting delayed because everybody's got a sign. So, but it's not on the market. So there are many sources of whether you call it direct to seller or seller liaison custodian, somebody who controls that property. So how do you get access to the decision maker?
Yeah, bankers have given properties out. Insurance companies will occasionally have a property off market.
A big source for me personally in the time, and I know you too, is dealing directly with property management clients.
Big time.
Because a lot of times other property managers, another property management company might know, hey, I've got somebody who's got a 10-pack portfolio that they're looking to sell. They don't want to put it on the market, but if you have a buyer who was looking for 10, we can make a deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's working that. So, and as you know, the most I don't know if it's the sexiest, but the one that gets the most airtime is wholesalers.
Big time.
And all they're doing is hustling some way, somehow.
I have talked about wholesalers in the past, and some of my comments are negative and some of them are real positive. But the one thing I can say about that group is they are grinders. Those guys are hustling to get that one property under contract.
That's right. I mean, they're either making phone calls.
Yep.
They're sending text messages. How many text messages do you get? How many mailers do you get? How many emails do you get? How many billboards do you see? Bandit signs do you see? TV ads do you see? Radio ads
cold
do you
calling.
see?
I buy your house. I mean, everybody has seen the I buy your house little stick. That's a wholesaler.
And the we buy ugly houses and all that.
I pay cash quick and whatever. If you see those little signs at major intersections,
and the people who do that, the wholesalers trying to get that house under contract, and then sell it for a spread, for a finder's fee, assignment fee, whatever you call it. But those guys hustle,
man.
Those guys hustle.
I give those guys that. It's a tough. It's difficult. They got to build trust on the phone. There's a whole lot of stuff. Make sure they're not scamming. Because some of these people now are scamming on the phone.
I mean, just putting out those bandit signs.
I mean,
driving around at night trying to evade the law and do everything. I mean, that's a lot of work.
They've even created apps for
sticking them on, sticking them on phone poles. And I mean,
have you seen that? They have an app now where if you drop a sign, you can click it and you can figure out where they're dropping signs all over. It's that itself has turned into a business.
The wholesalers who are working hard to find deals, and as you know, maybe this is a little bit of a tangent, but most real estate agents, I've been out in real estate training classes with traditional agents helping owner occupants buy and sell, and they can't stand wholesalers, and they don't like agents who work with wholesalers because they aren't. What I told them is you aren't willing to hustle. You don't want to do what those people do to find sellers.
Yes, that is 110% accurate. The real estate agent licensed community frowns on wholesalers, the whole line of work, the business. They do not think it's legal. It's a whole stigma that goes with it.
It serves a much needed purpose, and they work their tail off to get what the scraps that they get. So I'm a fan. I've bought a ton of wholesale properties. We've sold a ton of wholesale properties.
Man, I'm telling you, I have no problem with the wholesale community. I do in some aspects or some instances. I wish they ran their business better, but I will tell you. Those guys, I got a lot of respect for that hustle and that grind, and more power to them. I don't, as a licensed agent, the way I look at that is if I wanted those houses and I wanted to get those, then I'll go do that work. The agents that don't like it are used to, hey, they get a phone call. Hey, how much is my house worth? Can you sell it? Sure. I'll sign a contract. Sure. And then that's all the work they want to do to get that business. Wholesalers on the other end are knocking on doors, cold calls. I mean, we're very close with some wholesalers, and I mean, how many calls they make a week? hundreds, if not thousands.
Yeah. And mailers, again, to me, it's and we like pro sports, college sports. It's just like, it's in commission sales jobs are like that because it's a meritocracy. I mean, it's totally based on your effort and how smart you are and how hard you work.
And I love that.
That's right.
I mean,
that's
those
exactly
guys are nothing but hustlers. And
that's right.
I totally respect that process. What's an advantage and a disadvantage about working with a wholesaler or working on an off-market property? I guess it's kind of the same thing. So let's talk about some of the advantages and disadvantages. The first advantage I think of is the price, right?
Usually a discount.
It's usually a discounted rate price because the property's typically not in great shape. Typically.
Or
the owner would just go to an agent and sell it and get their market value.
Or they want to get out for
Quickly.
quick. They don't want to mess with it. They don't want the hassle of having to, or they don't want to pay the commissions. And all of a sudden, it's a good deal.
Yeah.
And you know, in some ways, there's less competition, right? Because it's not broadcast to the world that this property is for sale.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of good advantages, and in my experience, it's usually really quick.
That is typically what they're looking for. And it's not always a desperate seller, Douglas. Last year, we had a guy who was extremely wealthy, had a big multifamily property.
Oh, right. Yep.
And moved it for way less.
Yeah.
And the only reason why, he didn't want to fool with it.
Yeah.
Right. He just wanted to move the property and get out of it. Could he gotten a little more? Maybe, but that wasn't important to him.
No.
He wanted to move quickly. So that's some of the advantage.
And that's a advantage. I mean, it's like, hey, you can get a deal done. Where sometimes, as you know, with the MLS, you got to lock it up. You got competition. You got to go through the hoops, the seller. And I have found my experience is it's usually a more motivated seller.
Every time.
So that's another advantage, because sometimes you deal with sellers who something happens and they change that. Life happens in the contract, whatever.
I don't think we as real estate people look at life as much. Life influences a lot of this. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just think, I don't know why I just brought that up. Said life, but I don't think we look at life with investment real estate as much as we should. Yeah. There are a lot of guys that sell their investment houses right now because something happened in life.
And that's what so years ago when I've been doing this 20 plus years, and the window, man, during the Great Recession and slightly thereafter, the window to buy rental property in Memphis was wide open, man. Yeah. It was amazing. And I was so scared that it was going to shut. And here 15 years later, it does not shut. Now, it shut some, but it is never. Let me rephrase that. I was afraid it was going to close. Now it'll shut some, but it does not close. It's always open. You know why? Because of life.
Yeah, always.
People die. People get divorced. People move. They make changes in their life. All of a sudden, it's like that guy you just described. Like, I want to go take advantage of this, so I just want to get rid of this. And so there's always an opportunity.
I also think, too, I agree with you. There's a bubble in there, and I don't mean the bubble popping like on the market, but I believe that when it squeezes here and closes, that bubble's pushed down here, and the other side, there's something else that opens. You know,
for sure.
Every time a window, closes a little bit in real estate, it automatically opens something else up, and I know this because I've navigated through it. I started in new construction, and that window began to shut. Right back, we went through this 2 weeks ago. Window began to shut. It pretty much closed. Well, that bubble, by squeezing that bubble down a little bit, it opened up this end of it, which was what you just brought up. Investment deals
out everywhere. The wazoo. Oh man, you can pick them up.
All over the place. We were selling them all over the place for 50
pennies
cents
on the
dollar now.
Pennies on the dollar.
We were.
Yeah.
Now this one's tightening back up. So what else will open? We don't know, but it'll keep going. So yes, life happens, and that's something we don't factor in as much as I think we should. So anyway, I just brought that up. Caught me by surprise there, but I like that one. What advantages and disadvantages? So we talk about advantages. What's a disadvantage to buying off market? I mean, what's the first thing that popped in your head? You say, hey, man, that buying an off-market property, watch out for.
To me, it's sometimes they don't work out. There's a reason people want to get out fast, and sometimes it's, there's some title issues, there's some judgments, there's some hair on it that it doesn't work out. It doesn't. Sometimes wholesalers aren't the ones that you want to deal with, and something happens, they sell it to somebody else right from under you. You pay a big assignment fee potentially, and there's an urgency on the wholesaler's part that you don't get with an MLS. Like on the one hand, it's quick, but on the MLS, like you can, if you get it under contract, it's yours. You can lock it up. You can do an inspection. You can have contingencies. And most wholesale deals like no contingencies. You got to close in all cash. It's got to be this week. Yeah. It's like, I need your decision today, right now.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I laid off a bunch of different.
But that is the
disadvantages.
That's the route. There's the first thing I think of is there's no governing body over wholesalers.
That's right.
I have a code of ethics and a fiduciary responsibility to all parties that I have to, I can't lie and misrepresent and that sort of thing. And there's a governing body over me, the Tennessee Real Estate Commission, the Mississippi Real Estate Commission. With wholesalers, there's not. There's the general, the Attorney General's office in the state, but I mean, there's really no police, so to speak, for a wholesaler. So they can really do and say anything to you. Not all do, but some do.
Right.
Let's just call it what it is. Some
lie,
intentionally
cheat, steal,
misrepresent the property to get that done. And there's no recourse other than legal action on them if there was a loss. I mean,
buyer beware.
Buyer beware. Now, that's moving into our next is
it's a good topic.
It's a good segue to work into why I work with a real estate agent versus a wholesaler in here. And here's that I'm laying out some of the reasons why now. The most common thing that I hear from a wholesaler that is not that we frown at or turns out to not be true is the rehab amount.
Right. Yeah.
The condition.
Yeah.
Almost every time they tell me it's 8,000 and it's 18 when we get out there.
Yes.
Right. So I kind of take all the information that I get from a wholesaler is I just kind of take it. I don't really trust it but it's trust, but we're going to verify.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah,
everything.
absolutely. Yeah.
Verify everything. So one of the advantages of working with me versus directly to that wholesaler is you can't get misinformation from me. No. You can. I'm not going to give it to you. I'm going to vet that wholesaler, screen that wholesaler and the information that they're giving me first before I'm bringing it to this client. So that's one advantage I think of, you're working with a real estate agent and going through me to do that. For another reason is I know most of these guys. Very rarely is a wholesaler going to pop up that I haven't seen unless they're just new in the business, right? So, and that happens too. There are guys that pop up every month that I don't see. But
it's a grind business. It wears a lot of it grinds them out.
It's a wash and rinse big time. Very rarely do they stay in there long. So, working with a licensed agent, you're going to at least hear a more accurate info from me, or at least you'll get from me. Hey, he's telling us it's 8,000. Let's budget for 12 or whatever.
And I think one thing, and we can kind of nuance all those a little bit more, but one thing to note on that about the agent is you're going to help somebody buy a property. You don't care what property it is.
No.
The wholesaler has to sell that specific property. That's why that wholesaler is going to paint the best picture. And it's why you're going to be more truthful because you don't care.
No.
Because you want to help somebody buy a property. They want to sell that property. And so that's why
that's huge.
Yeah, that's why, but that is why you're more objective.
Yes, because it doesn't matter to me. If this doesn't work out, we're going to move on to the next one.
You're sending out 25 properties a day.
Man, I tell you, the last week's podcast, we were talking about myself. It's amazing of what we cancel.
Yes.
So I close 20 and 25 every month, right? We talked about that. We cancel 10 to 12.
Yeah.
And most times those are wholesale deals.
Right.
Because we weren't told the right information, or we got out there and it's it's way more than what we thought, or the street's not as good, whatever the situation may be. And then I have to say to them, hey, this is not a deal anymore. This is no longer a deal. We need to move to the next one. A wholesaler will never, ever tell you.
Because you said it just then too. It's like you're doing 25 a month. If a wholesaler sells 5 a month,
that's
amazing.
It is amazing.
Usually 1 or 2, right? And maybe. so maybe. And so again, they have every interest to sell that, whereas you have every interest to help somebody find a property.
And that's a distinct difference.
Yeah, so that's
I'm representing our client.
Yes.
They're representing that
themselves.
House and that house.
That's right.
Great point. So there's some of the advantages. Let's talk.
Well, and about that wholesaler. So I was to speak on the wholesaler. You said it. So I look at it as wholesalers, real estate agents and realtors.
Yes.
And so wholesalers, we said, willy-nilly they can do out what they want. Real estate agents are licensed by Tennessee, Mississippi, Arkansas, wherever they're doing business. And they have the law of agency. They represent clients.
Yep.
And that's it. Realtors have a code of ethics that they have to abide by, and we know that. And it's a higher standard than the law. And usually in cases where the law and the realtor code conflict, you have to take the realtor code and be the higher standard. And so that's what the realtors, I don't remember the stats. It's about half of real estate agents are realtors. So, but we all know.
I did it years ago.
We all know the ones who are active and make a career and are realtors, and then they're agents, and then they're wholesalers. So there's a degree of accountability.
And it scales up.
It scales up greatly.
Yeah.
So that's just a distinguishment. But you talked a little bit about that.
So
and I guess with those, for me, one thing I meant to say back was like, wholesalers also hear them called bird dogs, also call them boots on the ground. So you hear different terms for these wholesalers and kind of what they're out there doing.
Yeah. They'll call it anything. You know, what it truthfully is wholesaling a house and moving it. Yeah, bird dogs. I've heard that. I've heard,
heard bird dogs, boots on the ground. But again, it's not, the term is basically, it's a nice way to describe, unlicensed, fly by night, do what they want, unregulated, below the radar.
Does that sound like anything you want to deal with? You know what I mean? Like directly.
Directly. That's right.
No,
that's right.
I do, because that's a great property source for our clients. But I don't think a buyer who is exposed wide open wants to allow that person in. I mean, like you need some guard, you need a buffer zone from there of somebody to an in between, because that person you're trusting has no obligation to you. They have no license. They have, like I said, no governing body.
And there's you have no recourse, right? Whereas with agents, you have the Tennessee Real Estate Commission and their brokerage, and with realtors, you have Tennessee Real Estate Commission and brokerage and the Realtor Association.
That's
exactly
you got
a lot more.
A lot on there. All right, so let's talk about the actual logistics of what happens. So we're working now. We've decided to work with Dean here at Crestcore, and we're making offers on properties. And boom, we made an offer on 123 Main Street, and it is a wholesale deal.
Yep.
Dean sourced the property for me. His team got it under contract for $100,000. There's an assignment fee of, let's say, $20,000. And then, of course, Crestcore's real estate commission as well, and the off-market property. Yeah. So a lot of that, there's a whole lot of moving parts in there. So what does that look like? You agreed to pay $100,000.
It's a great deal.
It's a great deal. The property's, let's say in this instance, is worth $150,000. You're getting a great deal. It needs a little rehab. So we've got it under contract. Okay. We're going to go inspect the property. Let's fast forward to that part. We've inspected it. Let's just say we got lucky and we approved this one. We don't need any reduction. We don't need anything.
Got it.
Now it's time to close.
Okay.
This is not traditional. Like, you're not going to have one contract that the seller and you sign, and we're going to take it to close, and they're going to close that contract for $100,000.
Okay.
You're going to receive an assignment contract. And what that means is the seller has signed a contract with a wholesaler. Okay. For, let's use the example, $80,000. Okay.
So the wholesaler hustling, grinding, doing all
phone
that they
calls,
did,
all the stuff,
everything they did, they found somebody who said, "Yeah, I'll sell my house to you for $80,000."
$80K. The ARV on this is $150,000. So wow, we've got a discount.
So that wholesaler worked really hard, found that person, offered them $80,000, and got it under contract
for $80,000,
and then came to you. You've got a network. What we haven't said is you've got a network of wholesalers. You deal with every wholesaler, and so they're sending you their deals.
Yes,
you're vetting them, sending them on, and so you go, wow, ARV 150. They want to sell this contract for $20,000. But for $100,000, the buyer would be all in for
$100,000. Gotcha. That's what they've agreed to. He has it locked up for $80,000,
and he's going to get a $20,000 finder fee.
He is going to get a $20,000 what they call assignment fee. And what he's doing, This is where I want everybody to be careful. He is assigning this contract that he has with the seller to you.
The $80,000 contract.
The $80,000 contract and all the terms.
Right. So I'm buying. I was like, hey, I've got this contract for $80,000 with this house.
Yes.
If you give me $20,000, I'll give you this contract.
I'm going to give you this contract.
Okay.
That's essentially what that means. And then you're going to sign some paperwork. It's called an assignment of contract.
Okay.
For $20,000, and it's going to
You
total
bought
up
that
your
contract.
100.
Yep.
You just bought this contract and all the terms
For 20, and then you're going to buy the house for 80.
That's exactly right. You need to make sure that before you sign any assignment contract that you have seen the original.
Great advice.
Because what happens,
They might
in a
have
lot
bad
of
terms
cases,
in there.
They might have terrible terms.
Yep.
You pay this, you pay this, you pay this. If you
All
don't,
the seller's
I sue
costs,
you.
all the who
all
knows?
the stuff that goes,
Back
whatever they want to put in.
taxes.
Yeah,
You know.
anything that they put in there. Because
Yep.
remember, they're just trying.
You're
to
just
lock
buying the
this up.
contract.
The wholesaler doesn't really care what it takes to get locked up because he has no intention of closing.
Because the wholesaler's never going to buy the house. The wholesaler is just going to sell the contract for $20,000.
So he just wants to get it locked up with Mr. Seller in a favorable way, peacefully, easy, and then he wants to come and take this contract and assign it to my end buyer. Okay?
Okay.
So the one thing that if you're working directly with a wholesaler, you're going to, he's going to send you the assignment first, and he's not even going to send you the original because he doesn't want you to know he's making $20,000. Some buyers care. You should. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay. I want to talk about that.
I definitely want to talk
I
about it. But some buyers are going to say, whoa, $20,000, that's 25%.
That's 25% of 80.
I'm not, wow, no way. Or, okay, let's just sign it and keep moving. So that's what they're trying to protect. The $20,000, not necessarily
the wholesaler's
terms
trying to protect it. That's right.
Maybe not the terms every time because they're pretty, for the most part, they're
Standard.
vanilla and standard.
Yeah.
But there could be some
There could be
stuff in there.
They might have to.
They're trying to protect you from seeing $20,000 because they know that's a ton of money. And a lot of buyers, I'd say half, unfortunately,
can't look past
that.
it. They don't look at the
past
150. They look at the 20.
They look at the 20 and they get really concerned with this person making 20 instead of, holy crap, I just bought a house for 100.
And I'm going to tell you a great story. You ready for my story?
Yeah.
Had a house, bought some houses. A house next door came up, and this is in 2012.
Okay.
Again, this is a crazy time.
I love the story. I've heard this.
2012. A house next door, somebody gets it under contract and says, I'll let you have it for 33. And I said, man, that's a heck of a deal. And we come to find out the person was selling it had a $10,000 assignment fee. But on top of that, there was another assignment fee for $10,000. So the original wholesaler got that house under contract for $13,000. Assigned it for $10,000 to another wholesaler. Other wholesaler assigned it for $10,000 more, 33. So there's somebody who looked at that deal and all they could say was $20,000 in assignment fees. Could have had that house for 13. And all I kept saying was, this is a $50,000 house for 33. I got on Zillow yesterday when you sent me this.
How much worth?
99.
Yeah.
10 years ago for $33,000 worth 99 today. In the assignment, how much are those assignment fees? 13 plus 20 in assignment. That's like over 150% in assignment fees. But it's a heck of a deal.
But
so it's because you're looking at the wrong number.
You're looking at the wrong number. I try to tell my folks every single time, you might see 2,000, you might see 20. If it's a deal for you, it's a deal for you.
Who
it
cares?
Doesn't matter what he did or she did to generate that property at a lower price. They presented it to you. You can take it and move or don't. In this situation, just about every client I believe, would move on it.
Yeah,
you got a
it
great
sounds like
deal.
a great opportunity.
It looks like, hey, as long as we're not over
20,000
$20,000 in rehab, we can burr it and you can get right out of it.
Yep.
And you can move on with a great property. So that's a great point.
So anyway,
back to the actual assignment. So they're going to assign that contract to you. You're going to say, okay, I accept this contract at $100,000 or 80 with paying 20 and then crush course fee. But paying 20. Now I'm at $100,000 and we're going to move to close. So then we're going to take it to the title company. They're going to do the same process.
Yeah.
They're going to title search. They're going to run and make sure there's no liens or judgments or whatever on the property on the original seller, not the wholesaler. Remember, he's out at this point. He's sold and he's done. He's going to take a step back, and the title company is now going to bring you and the seller together and close this property out. Close it and you move on. That's how you close a wholesale deal. So there are so many moving factors and parts. Like, so you might get the wholesale assignment contract and it's for 20 grand. And then you get the original and it says some things that you don't like. Pay the seller side closing, back taxes. He might know there's some judgments and liens, so they've agreed to pay that at closing.
Yeah.
So you need to make sure that before you sign an assignment contract, the original is delivered at the same time.
Great.
If the wholesaler balks at it and doesn't want to send you the original, we can ask them. What I typically do is just say, hey, white out your assignment fee then.
Yeah.
White out your original purchase price of the contract. If that's what you have to do, if you're afraid of that, white that out. We're concerned with the terms.
Yeah. And I think, not that a lot of wholesalers are watching. Maybe they are. They should be, because this is great information you provide every week. But I think just as much as sometimes people don't want to pay, they're looking at the $20,000 assignment fee.
Yeah.
Wholesalers like him wanting to white it out.
Yeah.
Like, stand by that. Like, you've worked for that $20,000, and don't be embarrassed or afraid that somebody's not going to pay it, because you've created a lot of value, and continue to sell the ARV and continue to sell what a great deal that is. So,
and I just try to work with those guys if they're nervous. Now, I also work with them too. If it's a huge number, double close it. That's a whole nother show that we can use where they close on the property with some transactional funds and then turn around and sell it.
Well, we know somebody who closed a massive transaction fee or assignment fee.
Oh, I don't care.
With the closing. I mean, they didn't
care.
There's
a lot of people that'll sign that it doesn't matter.
They're looking past the assignment fee to the actual value.
Because I'll be honest with you, if you're the kind of person that looks at that wholesaler or property source and you're more wrapped up with what they're earning off selling the property to you, and real estate investing might not be for you.
Agree.
Because I think your mind's on other things other than your real estate business.
You're just going to be limited in life. I mean,
that's a life limiter.
We can introduce you to some counselors who can help you.
That's exactly right. If you're worried about other people and worried versus yourself and what you're running your business on, I think you're going to have big problems in real estate.
Agree. Sorry about that.
So no, it's great. So are they legal? Of course, they are legal as long as the paperwork has been done properly, which we all vet. That's one of the reasons why you work with me on there. I make sure that all this paperwork is done.
And a lot of times you'll see contracts, whether they're wholesalers or even the agents, marketing the contract. Mm-hmm. They're not marketing the house.
There's the difference.
Correct.
So that you get in trouble if you market the house because you're not a licensed real estate agent, and what the commission would say is you're acting like a real estate agent. If you have to make sure, I mean, this is a wholesale class now, but down at the bottom, you have to make sure that, your disclosures are stating I am selling my personal interest in this contract.
Right. And that's what your buyer is buying.
The contract, not the house.
Yes,
that's exactly right. To then close on the home. So, yes, they're legal. It happens in every state in our country. So, they are legal. Let's see. Talk about the searches and why it's important to work with a title company that's familiar with this. Man, this is the biggest. I just got off the phone. Clearly, I won't use anybody's name, but I just got off the phone with with a seller who was selling a property that he closed on rehab to one of our clients.
Okay.
We got it under contract, and one of our title companies found that it was not recorded properly, that when he bought this home from this seller, the wholesaler, when he bought it, there were 10 heirs to the property, 10. And only 2 had signed it.
Okay.
Several didn't agree to sell it. Now that's a clouded title.
Oh, man.
So he cannot sell. So now he owns this property with a clouded title. He cannot sell it to my buyer.
Did he get owner's title policy?
He paid for it, but it wasn't put on there by the title company.
Ouch.
Which I'm not going to say out loud, but if you want to call me offline, I'll tell you.
Yeah. But that's what that's why you buy an owner's title policy. That's why when you borrow money, lenders require you to have a lender's title policy for things like this
right here.
It's why 99 times out of 100, it doesn't. There's no problem.
But this one time.
Yes. And so it seems like the title companies are making hay, man. They're just taking
burning and turning.
They're just getting all this money. Well, all of a sudden it's $150,000 payout or something.
Yeah.
So they have to collect a lot of $300 or $400 or $500 premiums. I know a lot of people out there who cut corners and say, I don't need a title policy. I don't need, it's like, you don't need it until you do.
Yeah.
And then you're going to be out $100,000. And
yeah.
how's
so
that
now,
feel?
Terrible. So now this title company closed the house without all the proper documentation. I don't know how it was done. We're still battling and dealing with that. But you need to work with a reputable title company that is used to working with assignment contracts, wholesalers, and is very clear on those steps of that process. Because if you go to a title company in town that they do residential closings with, mom and dads and their kids, and they're all excited, and then you hand them an assignment contract, they don't know what to do.
They're gonna miss it.
I've even had some guy tell me it's illegal. Like they just don't know what it is. They don't ever deal with it.
Right.
That's why it is important. We have a couple that we can refer you to. Those title companies will keep you out of trouble and will protect you. Right.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
Because this does happen. It's not. Not common, but it does happen that something in the recording or the process can go wrong on down the road.
And as you and I know, there of all the closings you do, I would imagine at least once a month, if not more, something comes up in a contract that there's an air issue, there's a title issue. Now, I would guess 90% of those get resolved.
I would say 90 to 95 even
and
are
then,
resolved.
But some have to kick out because of it. This one should have kicked out, but that you're using an example. Oh. But they just missed it.
He should have never been able to close on it.
Correct. And what would have happened? They would have gone and got all the other heirs and signed all the documents, and then he would have a clean title. Or
now
they would have fought it, and he wouldn't have bought it. He would have bought it, moved on to the next house,
moved something else. But now they're having to go back and trying to clean that mess up. So I'm going to encourage you every time to use the right title company.
Yes.
It doesn't necessarily have to be the two that we're going to refer you, April and or Local Title and Griffin, Will Griffin.
Yeah.
You don't have to use those, but I am going to tell you that you need to make sure that you use a company that is used to it. And there are a few that offline I'll discuss and talk about how I have had multiple bad experiences to the
over
point to where
many
it's like,
years.
Let's just move away. There's other ways to many years, man, many years. So, what's our discovery? Crestcore Brokerage works with OffMarket. Really, just to kind of wrap this up, I value. I can't really express how much I value the relationships that we have with OffMarket sources, and the leader of the pack with those are wholesalers.
Yes,
I love them. I have a lot of respect for them. Even the bad ones, right?
Yes.
They're never bad on purpose. They're just bad because they're just bad, right? They're not intending to be bad. But
99 people out of 100 aren't evil. One person, maybe out of 1,000 million, is really trying to cheat people.
Some of them are just into it, and I do know those guys,
right?
And
you avoid them,
and we don't fool with those
99,
guys.
the ones who are messing up for whatever reason.
So I want buyers to open up their minds to that process and to understand when you get into that it is not always going to go perfectly. If you're working in your residential area with an agent and they've been doing it for forever and they both have those code of ethics and those, you are going to be shot straight. They're going to tell you everything. In wholesaling, it can be a little hairy, right? It can be fuzzy. You might not get all the info, but I want to stress that that's why I'm here and that's what I do.
And I think it's tempting. I think it's tempting because you've got you vet them, you know them, you deal with them on multiple deals after months and months and years and years.
Yep.
So you've got yourself a Rolodex full of wholesalers
for years.
So it's very tempting for a new buyer to think they can go directly to a wholesaler, and they again, the wholesaler is, for many reasons we've already covered, I think that's just bad. That's just a bad idea. I see how it's tempting, but I think you're being seduced. It's not what you want to do. I think you want that middleman. They need to come through you or an agent like you to find off-market deals. They don't need to be going to wholesalers directly. And that's just a recipe for disaster.
It's not even so much the paperwork I'm as concerned with. It's the market knowledge that they don't have. The
wholesaler.
The wholesaler.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to put it on a spreadsheet maybe for you and show you how great that looks or what have you. But that's fool's gold, man. That's not a clear representation of. That's not advice. That's not somebody that's there on your side, right? They're not. They are trying.
They're trying to sell that specific house.
Period. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to get the right house for the client.
Amen.
Huge difference.
Well, huge difference. That's it. That's exactly right.
It's not the right house. It's the right property, not a property, right?
Right.
So let's get the right one. I enjoy working with my wholesalers. Some of these guys are going to be listening to this. I have
they're great, man.
With one. So
love them.
I enjoy working with wholesalers and off-market insurance, whatever, how we get it. But I thought today we would discuss this, make sure that we
great topic
got this this system out and the how we do this and how we work it a little bit.
Super applicable. I mean, all day, every day.
Every day I'm dealing with this, and every day clients are dealing with this. So I think this is
very timely.
A great topic. Anything else to add?
No, man, that's great. Yeah.
All right, guys, thanks for listening. Remember, after the show, email me if you have any questions. Dean@crestcore.com. I can help you list anything, buy anything here in the city. Spotify, YouTube, Facebook. You can catch it later, okay?
Yeah.
See you in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Thanks.